meant to do this live on Facebook. However, Facebook on the laptop was being very difficult. So, we're just going to do it this way and post it. I was hoping to do some live Q&A with you guys, but it didn't turn out that way. I have sequestered myself away to, this is like seriously a closet that I'm in. Okay, this is a closet that I'm in at the office. So seriously, this is it. Just because I wanted some quiet time to kind of, do this, just to kind of, everybody else is out there or up there over there doing their thing. I wanted some space for just us. I want to talk about parenthood. I've noticed a lot of posts on our Dad's Edge page about, and when I say a lot, it's probably a handful, right? So it's probably really not a lot. It's just I'm not on social that much. And some of you guys' questions or some of you guys' statements or some of the stuff that you guys are going through, it just feels like we need I don't know. I just felt compelled to give a response via video. So I hope this is helpful to you. I want to start off with the big idea of this. Anything worth doing is worth doing wrong. Let that sink in for a second. Anything worth doing is worth doing wrong. Here's why I say that. Eventually you'll get it right. A lot of you guys, period, you don't know me, but from Adam, you don't know my story. I don't care. That's fine. My name's John. This is my story. I grew up, I've never met my biological father. I have no idea who he is. I don't know what he walks like, talks like. I don't know what his farts smell like. No idea who this guy is, right? I also grew up in a very dysfunctional, jacked up, alcoholic, abusive, drug abuse. I'm pretty sure we grew pot in the backyard at one time, and I'm pretty sure I cut it down with a weed eater. I don't know if you can get an associational high from that or not, but who knows? Maybe it happened, maybe not. But yeah, so that was kind of my home life. I saw my mom literally fist fight with like my uncle, and a lot of cussing and yelling, and not a healthy environment to grow up in, not a healthy environment to be in as an adult, not a healthy environment to be in growing up as a young man, as a boy, trying to become a man. So, first off, what led me to the Dad's Edge? You know what? Let's get to that later. Let's get that out in a minute, because some of you guys know, some of you don't. I don't want to bore you who know. Parenting starts with you. Parenting starts with you. I want to respond, not react to some of the posts. And my response to some of you guys would be, do you want the answer to your question? Right? Some of you guys have posted things, my son's doing this, he's quote unquote out of control, my wife and his mom and I, you say, are divorced, and she's trying to do this, and yada, 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 and there's this big, long, dramatic post, and it basically says that, you know what, your kids are living just like you are. It's the truth. Yeah, they're living just like you are. You're talking about your life, and you're talking about how your life is completely jacked all to hell and back, right? Why did you divorce mom? Let me guess, it's her fault, right? Is it? Which marriage are you on right now? Third, fourth, fifth? Look, I get divorce happens. I get it. My wife and I personally, when we first started out, she's my high school sweetheart. She's still my sweetheart. And it takes work. It absolutely takes work. And so anytime I come to these issues, I start with me. And I don't really care if this is a culturally relevant answer or not, right? I don't really care if that answer is not sensitive to your situation, because you're a man. If it doesn't happen, it's because you didn't let it happen. It's because you didn't make it happen, right? I don't wait on my wife to make plans. I don't even wait on my wife to plan dinner. Like, that's a conversation that we have, and that's just something that we do most days. My wife does a ton, but also it's a communication thing. And if I fail to communicate with her on my end, I have no one to blame but myself. No one to blame but myself. If our kids' behavior is out of control, I mean, I've got a 14-year-old son. I know what the teenage years are like. We're smack dab in the middle of this stuff right now. Look, guys, it starts with you. How often have you heard that? Right? All of this stuff starts with you. Are you taking ownership? I made notes here so I can stay on track. You can't see them because it blurred. But parenting starts with you. Okay, so first off, are you taking care of yourself? I read a post from a guy who says that his kids, he tells his kids to do something, they don't do it, and he, I don't want to call a guy out. I honestly don't remember his name. Sorry, bro. But it was basically when he tells his kids to do something, his kids turns around, walks off, and laughs at him for telling them to do a thing. And it's kind of like, what's wrong with these flipping kids? Well, are you taking care of you, Mr. Dad? Are you taking care of you? Do you practice the art and discipline of self-care, right? Do you do that in every area? Are your thoughts in check? Which is kind of the next thing. Are you nurturing healthy self-talk? What do you believe about yourself as a man, right? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your role in this world? What do you believe about your role in your home? Like, is it somebody else's fault that the trash didn't get taken out, or the dishes didn't get done, or dinner was 2 hours late, or, whatever? Is that somebody else's fault? Or are you like, hey, I'm the man, I'm the one in my home, I'm the one leading the way, I'm the one that's right? This is everything under this roof, everything on this property, everything in my car, all of my surroundings. I'm responsible for it. I'm responsible for everyone who's with me. On the campus of the property that I'm at right now happens to be a child care facility that shares a space here, right? I have absolutely nothing to do with that child care facility. Right? My wife is right now about a 30-minute drive away in a different building. My kids are about 30 minutes from her in different buildings. So, and then there's my home that's like in the middle somewhere, right? And for me, this is my thinking about that. This is part of what I tell myself. If something were to happen here, with these kids in this place, like if something crazy just outside of the normal, if someone tried to come in and do something terrible, like it's not going to happen because I'm here, and whether they think they're my responsibility or not, I'm going to be that man who exercises and practices responsibility to protect those that are around him. The same thing for my wife that's 30 minutes away, because I guarantee you I could probably turn that 30-minute drive into like 12. Same with my kids, right? It's just the way that I view myself in this world. Part of that comes from telling yourself, reframing your story, and having a healthy narrative. A lot of us have daddy issues. A lot of you guys, you pattern your life and you do things right now because your dad did them. Well, guess what? Some of your dads did it totally freaking wrong. My father did it totally freaking wrong. But I'm not out like, my wife knows me. My kids know me, right? I have no idea who my biological father is. My mom hasn't seen him in almost 40 years, right? I turned 38 this year, so 39 round up, right, in the 9 months. My mom's not seen my biological father in almost 40 years. I'm not going to do things one way just because. Does that make sense? Next. And we kind of hit this one. Do you blame shift or do you take ownership? The old adage is still true. Every time we point a finger, how many's pointing back? Right? You got to get the fingers in. How many's pointing back at me, right? In this case, 3. Every time we point a finger, fingers are pointing right back at us. You absolutely can't, even if you're divorced, and even if she's taking you to court, and even if she's trying to get more alimony, and even if, and you can make up all the daggum excuses in the world, man. But at the end of the day, when your body's put in the dirt, it's your name on the tombstone. It's your life that was written about in the obituary. What kind of life was that? All right, next. Getting into dad shape. Because some of you guys right now, like the way that you're living, at least parenting, sounds as if it's completely unhealthy. You sound like you're living and parenting completely unhealthy. You can look back through some of my pictures. Like 5 or 6 years ago, I was really, really overweight. And this is where I'll tell the little part of the story about how I came to know Larry and the Good Dad Project and all that. Really overweight. I had more chins than, it was rough. I was close to 300 pounds. My belt size was a 48. I kid you not. It was rough. One day I'm at the gym. My doctor I black out at the gym from walking. Go see my doctor. MRI, EKG, full blood panel, CAT scan, all that stuff. And he's like, dude, you got 6 months maybe before you have a massive heart attack. And that gorgeous lady you call your wife, she's going to be sleeping with somebody else because you're not going to be there to cuddle with her. Had to make some changes. So I began making changes. In my physical life, got in shape, 6-pack abs, big biceps, all the stuff, right? I went complete 180-degree change. I completely turned it around. Along the process, I caught myself being a terrorist in my own home. It was one night, 3 or 4 years ago. My oldest son was 10 or 11 at the time, and for no reason, I just had to come apart. I'm at the gym one day, and I'm walking by a mirror, and I see this really swole jack dude out of like the left corner of my eye. And I'm like, dude, that guy's ripped. And I turned around, and the guy that I saw was me. Now, this is why that made me sad, because I'd remembered the night before where I'm in my oldest son's face, like I say, 10 or 11 at the time. I'm yelling at him, top of my lungs, like spits flying, like the whole thing at my little dude. And it hit me when I was at the gym. It doesn't matter if I'm around when they get older. They're probably not going to want to be with me. Like, my kids are probably not going to want to have their dad in their life. My wife's probably not going to want to put up with this version of me anymore. I was in the podcast at the time, not so much anymore. I searched for Good Dad. Larry's came up. It was a top result. I started listening. It was the Champion's Blueprint, was one of the first ones that I listened to way back, episode early double digits. And I listened to this, and I listened to this guy in it. Can't even remember his name. Great podcast, though. I listened to the guy in it, Champion's Blueprint. You can find it that way in The Good Dad. And I wept. I was at the gym doing tricep extensions. I'm listening to this guy's podcast, and I wept. And here's what I've learned about that, and here's the assimilation. Getting into shape as a parent is very similar to getting into physical shape if you're out of shape. All right, here's what I mean by that. It's taken you 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, some of you almost 50 years to get into the terrible shape that you're in right now, right? And if you're in your 60s, 70s, you're probably not going to get into a ton of shape before you die, but you can just kind of hope for the best and implement some sort of regimen. That's just the truth. If you're 40, 50 years into this thing, and if your children are grown and gone and moved out and they have kids of their own, you're just not going to have the time to salvage. I mean, it's just a fact of the thing is you're not going to have the time. But if your kids are still living in your home, and I don't care if they're teenagers or not, right? You have the opportunity to redeem this time. This is why I'm called this reclaiming parenthood, reclaiming fatherhood. You have the opportunity now to redeem this. So it's taken you all that time to get out of shape. It's taken you all that time to cultivate an unhealthy relationship. You're going to, just like if you were to go to the gym and implement a new training regimen or something like that, you're going to have to make concrete changes in your daily routine of life, like ASAP, right? These are going to have to be firm things, like it's put up on a wall somewhere, it's plastered, like it's tattooed to your mirror in the morning when you're shaving, changes that you need to make, things that you're going to do, disciplines that you're going to exercise and keep. Like these changes are going to have to be felt throughout your entire home. You may not get them right all the time, but whatever changes you need to make, and we can talk about that like one-on-one or something if you want, but whatever changes that you need to make, it's going to have to be evident to everyone around you. And you're going to have to live up to that. Just like the guy who's trying to lose 150 pounds, right? Your eating has to change. Your schedule has to change. Your sleep pattern has to change. Like everything has to change. Everything has to change. You're going to feel this. It's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable for a little while. But if you want a new normal, then that new normal has to start somewhere. Part of the new normal is moving from consciously incompetent in areas to consciously competent. For example, here's where I want to go with this. This is where this is going to get a little, I'm just going to share current events in my life. So my oldest son, maybe a month ago, started referring to me by my first name. And it wasn't Dad. It was by my first name. He started calling me John. I don't like that. That's disrespectful. He's not paying the bills, right? He's not taking care of everything under the roof. He's barely responsible to get his own shoes on by the time he gets out of the car for school, much less take care of getting everyone to school, navigating traffic, paying the car insurance, getting the oils. I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? So you're the kid. We are not equals, right? On no planet are we equals. You're the kid. You're the kid in the situation. I'm Dad, not you, right? So with that, you're going to call me Dad. And I don't care where you got this first name thing from. I don't care who started it. I don't care about any of that. But man, it changes now. And this went on a handful of times, literally like 4 or 5 times it happened. Every time it happened, I completely stopped whatever I was in the middle of doing. I looked at him, I squared him up, and I said, you will call me Father or Dad. You will not call me by my first name. And I meant that. And I still mean that. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it's going to go. It's a learning pain. It's a growth thing that has to happen. It's a respect thing. It's a, I'm not Family Guy sitting around drinking beer, getting a big fat beer belly, not going to work, making excuses to sneak off to other rooms so I can look at porn and whack off. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be treated as that guy. I'm not a joke. I'm not a mockery. I know who I am. I add value to this world. I add value to my home. Right? And some of you guys, look, the problem is you're having an identity crisis because you forget who you are, man. You forget that you're Dad. You forget what all is your responsibility. And like, here's the thing, whatever is distracting you from your primary responsibilities, man, you better get that crap together. And you got to get that together soon. And you better like pinpoint it and just get rid of it out of your life. Right? It's not that you have a pornography addiction. It's that you have a loss of identity. It's that you forgot who you are. You forgot your role and who it is that you're supposed to be in the world. And once you remember who you are and who you're supposed to be in the world, you won't have time to be addicted to anything because you'll be too busy taking care of your own stuff. And that's how you move from, see, right now you're consciously incompetent. You're consciously aware of the fact that something's wrong, right? You may not know exactly what it is, but at least you're aware of it. If you've got to the 21 minutes and 20 seconds that we've come to so far in this video, right, then you're at least aware that something's going on. And if you've not taken the time to get to the 21 and a half seconds now that we're at in the video, and you're posting stuff, and you're like looking for help, and you're posting all your garbage and all your like fails in life on your Facebook, in the dad's group, I love you. And that's why I'm telling you this. I had a buddy a long time ago, he quoted some ancient wisdom to me. He said, man, the wounds of a friend are faithful. The wounds of a friend are faithful, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. It's not about someone in my life telling me what they think I want to hear. That doesn't build character. That doesn't grow me. That doesn't strengthen integrity. I need people in my life who love me enough and care about me enough to speak bluntly into my life. Do you know how many kids message me from time to time on Instagram after I do school talks and stuff, and I share about the alcoholism that I grew up as a kid when I was growing up? Do you know how many kids message me and they tell me, I wished my dad could hear your talk. I wished you could talk to my dad. I wished he would talk to you. I wished he would listen. I wished he would open up about this. I wished he would listen to someone. Do you know how many kids are looking for answers? Do you know how many kids are looking for their dad to stand up and be men? But you're not. You're like airing your dirty laundry on Facebook looking for some quick fix or some kind of solution. This is going to be the hardest thing that you ever do. I mean, the wrinkles are like, they're real, man. There's a lot of gray in there. You can't see it, but there's a lot of gray in there. This will be the hardest thing that you ever do. But it's the most worthwhile endeavor and investment that you can ever make. Let's see if we can finish this up real quick. I think I have one more illustration. Yeah, I do. I want to share this. This happened just yesterday. This one happened just yesterday. Yesterday, we get in the car. I'm in town this week, or these couple days. I leave out again middle of next week. And anyway, so I'm in town, and when I'm in town, we carpool. I take my wife to school. My wife teaches. I take my kids to school. It gives us more time together. I like that. I like that car time with my family. My thing. And I don't mind driving. I don't mind doing the commute at all. I love it, actually. I love being with my family that time. We get in the car, and we're having there's this lighthearted kind of an atmosphere, and then all of a sudden, my oldest son, Jaden, starts telling my youngest son, Joshua, how some kid in his school was making fun of him. Particularly was making fun of his hair. And Joshua had got a haircut just last night. My wife cuts her hair, so if you don't like my hair, I don't care. I like it. My wife did it. I think it looks pretty bad. Right? I'm 6'3", I'm 250, it works. So my oldest son started telling my youngest son this, and he just did it in a way that was spiteful and mean and just downright rude. And stopped my oldest son. He's 14, big kid. He's 6'2", 240, 245, lifts weights, football, that kind of thing. I stop him in the middle of his tracks. He's in the back seat, and I'm like, dude, how is this even helpful? Why are you telling him this? My oldest son, he gets angry, he clams up, he goes inward, he quits talking, and I'm like, I'm demanding that he give me some sort of answer that I'm going to like, or that's at least going to help clear this up. Why that he's talking to his kid brother the way that he's talking to his kid brother? Well, he never does. And at one point he finally says, well, Dad, I'm just not going to talk to you about this. That's the wrong move. I reach into the back seat. I grab his iPhone. I said, oh, you're not going to talk to me? Guess what? You're not going to talk to anybody about this. I get the phone. I take it away from him. Just that quick. No warning. There doesn't have to be a warning. I don't have to count to 3 with a 14-year-old. Are you out of your mind? Right? I don't need to give that kid a warning. He has a warning. There's a way that we do family. That's not it. Right? We're reestablishing, we're recreating, we're reclaiming. We're always claiming the way that we do family. Does that make sense? Now, here's the rest of the story, or at least part of it. He had a math tournament that he went to yesterday. Like right after this happened, I was taking him to a math tournament. He didn't have his phone to call me when the thing was over. I told him I'd be back in an hour. They usually last about an hour. It was almost 4 at the time. I said, I'll be back by 5. Well, I keep getting calls from this unknown number, and I'm like, hey, I don't have your number in my phone. Text me. Tell me who you are. Because I typically don't take calls from numbers that I don't have stored in my phone, or unless there's like a scheduled appointment. It's just the way I do it. Finally, after like 15 phone calls, I'm like, who in the world is this? And I take the call. It's my son. He's like, Dad, we're done. I look at my watch. It's 4:40. It's not 5. All right, I'll be there. So I go and I get him at 5 when I said I would go get him. When I arrive, Dad, what took so long? I've been done for 40 minutes waiting on you. I guess you should have had your phone to call me then, huh? Well, it's hard to have my phone when you had it, Dad. You get my point? Was my response, which I don't know that he did. Now, later yesterday afternoon, I noticed that he was still having a pretty salty attitude, pretty rough attitude. And we were in the kitchen, and I took him out of the kitchen. I said, dude, come here, walk with me. What's up? And I gave him a chance to explain himself, and I got to hear him, and I got to understand him, and the whole thing boiled down to there was a miscommunication on his part to where what he was trying to say to his brother, or at least at the time he was telling me that he was trying to say to his brother, hey, there's this kid who I think is your friend, but he's talking about you behind your back. You might want to rethink having this guy as a friend. It didn't come out that way in the car, and that's why I snapped toward my youngest son. Not really snapped. That's why I just kind of drew the line. It wasn't a snapping thing. It was really just, hey, there's a line. You just cross it, and let's come back to the other side of the line, right? It's not a snap. It's here's the line. Don't cross the line. And I had a chance to hear him, and what he was trying to say makes sense. It's just he completely failed to communicate in an inaccurate way. I did not apologize for taking the phone away from him. I did not apologize for showing up on time when I said I would show up on time. Now, I'll tell you what I have apologized for. I've apologized for being a terrorist in my own home. I've apologized for those moments when I've let anger get the best out of me. And those moments have been long ago now. And I don't have to relive those. And forgiveness has been asked for and forgiveness has been granted. So dads, I'm going to tell you what, there are things that you have completely screwed up in your kid's life. You need to be the first one to own that. You need to absolutely be the first one to own that. You need to be sad over that. You need to be repentant over that. You need to be you need to be just man, I've totally failed. And don't be surprised if the people around you, don't be surprised if your wife, if your kids agree with you. Own it. Don't be mad. Don't get mad. Don't try to make excuses. Don't ruin a great apology with a justification of why you're apologizing. Right? Don't do that. But live to be who you want to be. And guys, remember, if anything is worth doing, it's worth doing wrong. You will eventually get it right. I've got a lot more that I could say, but this is enough for now. It's over 30 minutes. Reach out. Message me. ImpactYouthCulture.com is a way that you can schedule a call if you'd like to chat. If not, you can try emailing me through life@counts.org. That's our website. But best of luck with that. The ImpactYouthCulture.com is the best way to get in touch with me. That can schedule a call directly with me. All right, fellas. I hope it's been real. I hope it's been helpful. Why'd you sign up for this group? Did you think it was going to be easy? Not at all.